Money, man.
You're gonna give me some if I ask for.
That's what you should do.
Charity.
Everything from there all the way there. Oh, and the grill.
My dad.
Was broken all the way.
Don't forget to mic up and mic on.
Sometimes I worry my hair, like, on it makes noise. I'm out of here.
Call the town workshop to order. First, we'll have presentations for community funding from the Historic Railroad Festival. I'll let you go first, introduce yourself, and make your presentation.
Hello, my name is Kia Scott, and I am the secretary for the Historic Appomattox Railroad Festival. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We are completely volunteer run. Most festivals in other localities have moved to a director that's fully paid. We are not at that point, and we probably won't get there anytime in the future. The festival is held the second full weekend of October of each year. It commemorates Norfolk and Western's railroad donation of the train depot to the town of Appomattox. Our mission is to provide a family-friendly and collaborative festival to enhance the heritage and history of Appomattox County and its citizens. The festival was established in 1972, and we celebrated our 50th anniversary last year. We are proud to say that it was our largest festival to date. The festival is a 3-day festival in downtown Appomattox that truly exemplifies the best of Appomattox. The festival has something for everyone, whether it be arts and crafts, whether it be the military displays, or simply the fellowship. The parade last year was one of our largest as well. We were pleased at the number of youth and individual entries that participated. Additionally, the car show, the teddy bear parade, the carnival rides, and train rides continue to be an attraction for the citizens and also citizens of surrounding counties. We strive to improve the festival each year. We also try to be responsive to community feedback, and we take that into consideration to deliver the best product possible. In recent years, we have revamped our music based on community feedback. Over the last several years, we've been able to attract not only local and regional bands, but also national acts. We had a group out of Nashville last year that was a great group, and also it attracted more people to the community and also to the festival, we believe. We hope to build on the success of last year and to continue to have excellent music and also diverse music. We also have anything from bluegrass, country music, to R&B, and most recently we have a presence of gospel music, and I think everyone appreciates the diversity of the music. This year, our footprint will expand to include the Memorial United Methodist Church parking lot. The car show is going to move over there this year. So we think that will help with the flow of traffic and also to ensure that some more displays can go into the parking lot behind the courthouse. As you know, without the funding that we do ourselves through fundraising, through sponsorships, through donations, from the town and the county. We simply cannot put on a festival with the cost of inflation. Everything has increased. Materials, goods, services have all gone up. We are thankful for the support that you've given us in the past, and we hope to receive funding from the town again this year in the amount of $10,000. And we would greatly appreciate your consideration in that request. Do you have any questions?
Not at this time. If we have any questions, we'll get them to your organization from the
Okay.
town manager.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kia.
Next, the Appomattox Tourism Committee.
My name is Don Jones, and I think everybody up front knows who I am. I come here every year for one purpose and one purpose only. I appreciate very much the funding you provide for us as one of the primary sponsors of the Tourism Committee. I kind of like to say we're the little engine that can. When I look at tourism budgets for around the state and surrounding counties, I see a vast difference between what they work with and what we work with. And everybody that knows what we do knows that we make the best, we do a lot with what we have. And I would like just to give you a copy of our annual report from last year and just ask for your continued support. We plan to rewrite, or we don't plan to, we're already in the process of redesigning and expanding our rack brochure that's in all entrance welcome centers along the interstates in this state. We printed 7,000 last year, and within 6 months they were all gone. So that means I know that's another thing that we are doing that is working. One we're in the process of designing is a 4-fold. It will have 16 panels on it. And we were going to be able to do that with the help of some people here in Appomattox that probably less than what it would cost somebody else standing up here to do that brochure. The other thing is I need to share with you, we'll be running a television commercial beginning, next week, 5th, 6th, and 7th. That's in preparation for Freedom Day and the commemoration of the 158th anniversary of Lee's surrender to Grant. There's a massive amount of events going to happen in this town. It's all over Facebook. You will see the television commercial. And again, it's because of your all sponsorship that I can do these things. I had a meeting yesterday with WSAT and some of their regional marketing people, and they just looked at me when I told them what our budget was in relationship to the others surrounding us. And I thank you all for your help. With that, I'm going to give you all a brochure. If you have any questions, just reach out to me and ask me. I'll answer anything you got. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Don.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Things out of my hands.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very nice.
I have one left for you.
Well, thank you very much.
And from the fire department.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
did we
sir.
ever find out what figure he was wanting to ask for the tourism?
Who, Don? Yeah, he said 10.
10,000.
He said it.
Is that correct, Don?
I didn't hear you.
The amount you are requesting is 10,000?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. I just wanted to kind of touch on what we did in 2022. Roughly, we ran 381 calls last year. So that was one of our busiest years that we've ever experienced in the history of our fire department. And we did that with all 100% volunteer firefighters. So tonight I'm here just to say thank you for your continued support and ask that you continue to do that coming up into your next budget cycle with the request of $27,000 of your annual donation. With that, combined with the county, we use that to apply to our operating expenses that we endure throughout the years. So I also want to talk to you a little bit about what we've been doing kind of in the meantime since last time I talked to you. So we've successfully put into service our new fire engine. We still got a little bit of a remaining balance on that that we're working on, hopefully working to pay that off. And then we've also undertaken the replacement of our brush trucks. One of them's a 1998 brush truck, and the other one's a 2003. That the costs for maintenance are adding up pretty quickly. So we've undertaken that using fire programs funds that we receive. So we're handling that from our own budget. So no extra cost or budget consideration from your perspective. And also we've undertaken working with the county in a partnership to implement a training facility in Appomattox that's going to benefit all of the departments that respond in Appomattox County. So we've got some costs that are associated with that we're trying to absorb in the Fire Programs Fund. The one request that I will ask tonight is a possible use for your ARPA funds to help us replace a breathing air compressor. So this breathing air compressor is something that is at our fire station that we use each and every time that we respond to structure fires and car fires and stuff like that, hazardous material situation. We used it sometimes during COVID when we had to enter an environment, that could possibly cause an exposure or something like that. So this compressor would replace it's an exactly 20-year-old compressor, and it would it's modernizing what we currently have, allowing us to fill the bottles faster and get things back into service quickly so we can help serve the community even more efficiently. So thank you again. It is a pleasure to serve you all, and it's a pleasure to be here before you this evening. And if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer those.
Not at this time. Thank you, sir.
I think you should have the quote for that breathing air compressor. Like I said, if you got any questions, I'd be glad to answer. Thank y'all.
I would add that today there was a fire call to a house. What more can I say? Yeah, how important this is.
Thank you, John. Next on our agenda, Hurt and Profit with the utility rate presentation.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Stacy Castro. I'm with Hurt and Profit, and I have been working with many individuals in this room over the past couple of years for the water and sewer rates. I know you guys have done a lot of work and kind of continuing to monitor that, and I kind of wanted to come and show you where you're at and different ideas of where it needs to go. So I believe Kim has handed out presentations to all of you guys, and I'm happy to just kind of step through a couple of different things with you. Kind of that first slide is just where you guys currently stand. You have done quite a bit with raising 3% the past couple of years. You've also taken your water rates and broken them in town and out of town. So you've made a lot of changes that have made big differences for you guys. We also have done a pretty deep dive on a lot of the debt service, a lot of where you guys are, projects that you're also looking to do. So we've taken that into account for all of the rate studies as well. So just kind of looking through that overview, what we've kind of been doing is looking at what you did approve, where that puts us right now. Also, you guys also had a study done with Davenport and Company a couple of years ago, also looking at where your rates currently stand compared to surrounding areas and areas that are comparable to this one, just so that you see where you're at in all of that. I know that makes a big difference as well. And then just making sure, one of the main things that everybody looks for is making sure water and sewer is self-sustaining or works towards becoming self-sustaining, as a lot of times that plays into a lot of the funding that you look for when you're looking for bigger projects. So with that, kind of jumping down through, the next main slide that we have, the top of it reads, no increased sewer evaluation. So what this is looking at where your sewer currently stands. So we've got the last couple of years, 2022, 2023, looking at finalized numbers that Kim and I have worked through with the audit. All of your auditors have come through, kind of making sure that everything is flowing correctly through that and where all of those numbers are. Sewer looks really good. So all of those changes, everything that you guys have put into play has made sewer self-sufficient, and just kind of continuing to monitor that. You can see down at the bottom your different debt services. We've pulled all of those out so that you can kind of see what your debt services are versus your general expenses that you guys have just to make your sewer operational. So just based on that, everything looks really good. Obviously, as you've heard a lot of people say today, everything is getting more and more expensive. And so what we've done in this model is built in a 2% increase into general expenses every year, because we all know that everything is just going to continue to get more expensive, keeping that rate as is. So what that does is any of that surplus that you guys are seeing from those water rates will allow capital improvements, helping to make sure that things are up and running and staying up to code and all of those types of things. I know that you guys spend a lot of time making sure that that type of stuff is in your budgets. This is making sure that you have that those funds to cover all of that. So sewer does look really good. Just kind of going down through that. Something that Kim and I had talked about and looked through with the current budget that you guys are working on. Currently, right now, if you looked at the budgets, and I'm not sure if it's changed much from what you and I have last talked about, but you currently are showing about $73,000 that you would need to put from the general fund into sewer in order to make your budgets balance for potentially the 2024 year. In that budget for 2024, you currently have $148,000 towards capital improvements. So what that's telling me is that you need those capital improvements to continue to keep everything up and running for sewer, but those rates aren't quite covering all of the capital improvements because you're having to pull some into general fund. So navigating those capital improvements and the timing of that is pretty essential in how you guys step through budgets and rates and that type of stuff, making sure that that's spaced out well. So again, all of the indicators for sewer look really, really good. So with that,
I was just gonna add,
yes.
It's actually coming out, the sewer has a account right now that is going to keep depleting.
Yes,
Okay, so the general fund would have to give yes.
I understand.
Okay.
Thank you for that correction. So there's already a surplus within sewer that's able to cover any of those
For a while.
for a while.
Over the
Okay.
next few months.
So that's kind of the quick overview of sewer and where it stands right now without making any changes. Are there any questions that I can answer just on that piece?
Sure.
I know this is a lot of information.
Sure, and if this question is better answered at the end or wherever, please just let me know. So while we always hope for a huge addition, big impact, industrial factory that's going to contribute 100,000 gallons a day in sewer processing, whatever, if that happens all at once, great, we can deal with it. But do you see any risk in kind of a slow burn, slow addition to our capacity, where we're using up, getting closer and closer to our daily max gallons, and we're going to have to make a decision, do we want to put $5 million or $10 million into a new sewer plant? Do you see a risk in that happening with this current model? Are we close to that? Do we have that as an issue? How would you manage that risk?
I absolutely understand what that question is. I don't know that it's something that I would be able to answer. I would need to have someone else on the team that could speak directly to that. I know that that's something that Biff has spoken quite a bit about in making sure that as we step through all of these different pieces that those things are addressed. So I can't really speak to, we've talked about connection fees and rates and capacity and all of those types of things, but haven't really worked that into this model. This is just kind of where it stands right now, not with growth.
And I can address the utilization Our plan is set up for 300,000, our sewer plant is set up for 300,000 gallons a day. And currently, the largest amount that we treat anything is with lime. We're using solid lime. We have reached the maximum lime that we can concentrate in our treatment water where we are. But we're still around 200,000, 225,000 gallons. So we're about a third away from what the plant's total capacity is. But some of the technologies that we're using, like the reeds that we're using, we're going to have to look at some new technologies to replace those reeds in the next 3 to 5 years.
Gotcha.
That's probably the biggest piece. Jeff and I have talked about this at length. Those are the two big things. We can move to water-based lime, but right now we're using, or liquid lime, but right now we're in a solid state, and right now we can't add any more using the current technology that we have.
So it would be correct to evaluate and use this model basically as continuing under the status quo with the current facilities, the current equipment, and no investment into new equipment other than what we already know about or what we've already planned.
Correct.
Okay.
Were there any other questions? Okay. Just kind of looking through the water evaluation. I know that a couple years ago we had stepped through the water again, as we've spoken about before. You guys have made quite a bit of improvement, increasing rates, breaking it out into out of town, in town, and you can definitely see that having a big effect on your revenue that's coming into the water. However, what we're also seeing a lot with the water is just a higher increase in expenses. A lot of that has been put into those capital improvements. A lot of that stuff is just gonna come out as timing, so it's hard to truly project a good model until we kind of continue to get a good thumb on what those capital improvements are, where else you guys need. Just looking at what you have in front of you, just to kind of draw your attention to it, in 2022, there was $157,000 that was spent in capital improvements. For 2023, there was budgeted right about that same amount. So what you're seeing is just a lot of money that you're putting back into that system to make sure that it is up and running and doing exactly what it needs to be doing. So all of those are really good dollars to be investing into that. However, what that's doing is just based on the timing of all of those things, the revenues that are coming in for it aren't covering all of those capital expenditure costs, in addition to the fact that things are just continuing to increase. There's been an increase, obviously, over the last 7 years, which this model has been built out to, with the purchase of water. I know that you guys purchase water and you're watching that continue to increase, whether it's due to capacity or the agreement that you guys have with whomever you're purchasing that water with, and just watching other. They kind of have it broken out into 3 main categories, kind of the salaries, the personnel benefits, your water purchase, and then that general expenses. And your largest is just that timing of those capital improvements. So it does look like, and you're also taking on that new Church Street water line debt that's coming in to play in the next couple months and headed into your next budgeting year. So that's also built into that. So I also think that you guys do have surplus in that we're trying to, again, looking at this, right now your budget shows that you're borrowing from a general fund or for a surplus of $126,000, but you're only budgeting $73,000 worth of capital improvements. So when you look at it at a 3,000 level view, you're not bringing in enough revenue from water still to cover all of those things based on what your expenses are to run that.
Not necessarily comparing us to a independent utilities authority like CCUSA, for example, but utilities that are offered by a municipality. Are many of those utility programs that offer water and sewer, are they completely self-sufficient from the general fund of the locality?
Again, it's something that many municipalities that I've worked with are striving towards, because a lot of times for funding it is required, or it is required to show that you're making progress towards. So you've seen it both ways. Most of the time when I'm standing up here, it is because they aren't, and you're building out plans on how to get to that. And the large majority of the times that those things are being done is because there is some type of funding source that is asking and requiring them to do such. Anything else? Almost there. I also wanted to walk you through, just so that you guys can see and put it back in front of you again. If you kind of jump a couple of slides over, the rates in the surrounding areas. This was also reported through the Davenport and Company report, but I wanted to refresh it, update it, but that's where I got the starting information, so that we're comparing apples to apples with the municipalities that they originally compared that were in front of you guys in the past. What I've done is gone through. They create, Draper Aden creates a water and wastewater rate report annually, and so that's where a lot of this information is coming from, that in the original Davenport report that they created for you guys. So what you can see, and these have your new rates in them, and you can see the asterisks for both the water and the sewer. Note that these municipalities also do out-of-town water or sewer rates. You can see that with the changes that you guys have made, the sewer rates are one of the highest in the comparison of these areas. I do think, just like everyone, this is something that many people are looking at because of expenses and those types of things. Again, I think sewer looks fantastic. Water, on the other hand, you are a little bit lower comparatively, and you can see that you're still borrowing some to make that self-sufficient, and that would be a larger discussion of, as you were saying, the importance of making sure that that is the case at the expense of how to make that balance well with what you're charging individuals in the area. So I wanted you to kind of see where those rates fell out compared to other places. So with that said, one of the things just to look at or to consider as you guys continue to look long-term for Appomattox is the usage increase within the sewer. As we talked about before, it looks really good. So there's really no need to increase. However, as we continue to talk, things are going to continue to increase. It should be something in the back of everybody's mind that this model I put every 3 years to make a small increase, just to cover general expenses and to make sure that you're saving money to be able to have that money for those capital improvements where they're needed within the sewer. And then subsequently talking through the importance of where you want your water. This model just shows that if you're creating a 3% increase each year, what that does for you guys, for your bottom line, as you're taking on that new debt with the Church Street water line, as well as growing those expenses 2% every year. And a lot of that will determine how you guys navigate through what those capital improvements are. As we talked about before, there's about $157,000, I believe, in your water capital improvements. And what this model is doing is assuming that you will be doing $157,000 plus 2% every year. And so that's just something that's built into that in terms of where you guys want to stay. So that will obviously have a big swing on what that bottom number looks like based on what those expenses look like, particularly capital improvements being such a large expense. So that's a whole lot of information and a whole lot of numbers for you guys to go through. Again, I know that you guys have done a whole lot of work, and I think that you're making huge differences in all of that, and I think that it was something that we wanted to make sure that you guys were seeing and looking at as you kind of continue to walk through your budget process. Are there any other questions that I can answer?
At this time, thank you very much.
Well, thank you all very much.
Thank
Have
you.
a great evening.
Safe travel.
Thank you.
Our next item on the agenda, consideration to fund the requested vehicle for the Sheriff's Office from the American Rescue Plan Act funding. the items that was requested from the sheriff or presented to us as a need is additional vehicles. Their fleet is aging quickly. It's hard to get the vehicles. Through the committee, the ARPA committee, we have found that it meets that requirement to be funded from that account. It's the pleasure of the council.
Who has been buying the vehicles?
County's bought every vehicle since we dissolved the town police department, is what I was told.
And that's what I thought was part of the agreement, right? Am I right, that we weren't?
I do not know.
Well, we did provide them a car.
A single car at
When
the
was
design.
that? Yeah, well, with what we had. At the
Right.
okay.
And when,
So
how
I'm sure
long
they
ago
didn't
was that?
replace that.
Yes.
Probably a couple times.
Do you know how long ago that was that we,
It's in the 80s.
1980.
I mean, good gravy.
So
I'm just saying,
here's my only hesitation, and I feel like we're just going round and round the merry-go-round. We've had the same issue with the county for the past 3 years, and probably longer, of essential services and the CIP. There's no CIP that's shared jointly between agencies, like the fire department, the rescue squad, and the sheriff's office, that establishes the county will pay for X, the town will pay for Y. I personally feel like the town would be well within its spirit of that original agreement to pay for a vehicle for the sheriff's office, because we gave them one originally. We could have just kept it up to date in a CIP every 7 years. We buy them a new one. That makes sense to me. But the problem is we have to look at it from all of the emergency services. Like, we just got a $81,000 request or whatever it was, $80-some thousand request for a new SCBA compressor from the fire department. I think that's just as valid of a thing that needs to be purchased for an essential service, but does that better fit in the county CIP? Should the town pay for all of it? And I think these are all in one breath. We need to evaluate them together because they're emergency management and they're shared responsibilities with the county. So I would love to sit here and motion to approve this, but I also recognize if I were to go against the $80,000 for the air compressor for the fire department, it's the same logic. So we just need to figure it out, what that CIP is.
I think we're looking at our budget, then we're looking at the money, total money we have with the park money. I think we gotta look at it a little different, because of the pot of money we have from the,
But we also have other things that we need to spend, that we can spend ARPA money on. So it's not just like a pot of gold that's, free. But and that buys one car and it buys one set of air compressors or whatever. But those are things that they age. They'll sit on our balance sheet for, what do you get, 5-7 years out of a car, 10 or 15 years out of a compressor. We need to be thinking about these things in a long-term way. So, I don't know. I mean, if a motion's made, I'll vote for it, but I just think we need to communicate, sit down with the county, express this as a problem, and have some true action in a joint meeting to figure out a CIP. Make all 3 of the emergency management departments come up with a CIP, and the county and the town agree on it.
I don't
I
know.
love the spirit of that, but getting it done.
Right.
I love the spirit of that, because I think at one time, when I first got on here, we had something like that going, because we had, if I remember correctly, when we did the budgets back then, a certain amount was set aside for the new fire truck.
every year.
And it's gotten away from that since, well, in the last few years, it's gotten away from it. And
I think what you're talking about, we need to look at everything you just said.
Yeah.
With our budget with the county. But we got to decide as a council that we want to use some of the park money to,
Well, the county also got ARPA money.
yeah.
A lot
So,
more
I
than
mean,
the town ever
right,
did.
so
A lot more.
where does it,
So we have a list that we've all agreed upon that we wanted to spend that park money on, and of course, this is 2 more items, and it's been
Right.
fluid, we've been moving it
Yeah.
around how we needed it, but and the deadline's encroaching. And-
Yeah, no, these are good things to spend it on. It strikes the nerve of the.
And personally, I can support, if the money comes with the ARPA money, buying a police car. I don't personally have a problem with that. If it comes to us a one-time thing, boom, and then, yes, we need to get that situation straight with the county or come up with a plan with the CIP. I agree.
Yeah.
And is the
Moving
town-
forward.
Is the town to have more involvement into funding the sheriff's department than we already have? We gotta decide that too. We haven't decided that yet. But
Well,
all that needs to be
and we're
done.
deciding the same thing with fire department too. I mean, we're paying for $80,000 thing, where usually we give them 20,000 or whatever a year. I just see it a little bit differently because ARPA funding we can use for a number of things, and we could use it just as easily to replace a sewer line or whatever. So, or do engineering or something like that. So, like I said, if a motion's brought for it, I'll vote for this. But we need to force the action. At least show up to a meeting. The county's always asked for agenda items. Let this be the one and only true blue meeting agenda item. You know, and we all sit in the room, and if we all leave huffing and puffing and don't have anything to come from it, at least we sat in the room with them.
Do you think a historical analysis, I mean, you know, because what we're really trying to get to is some percentage, right? I mean, what we're really shooting for is to come up with a percentage that we, basically, so it's not a surprise every time $27,000 or $81,000 shows up, that everybody's on some kind of a replacement schedule that's predictable.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where we're trying to get. And so we probably can't have a good discussion until we could gather some of that information. If you would like me to try and move in that direction to see what we could do, I'd be glad to try and gather some of that information. You know, talk with the county administrator.
Let's have the next meeting of the Emergency Management Committee, which I think is Bobby, Donnie, is Susan Walton still the EMS person or somebody else, and then I guess Jonathan.
I just want to make
Have
sure
each
everybody's
agency prep a CIP and then say, what's your wish list? What do you need for the next 5 or 10 years? And then have that go before the county and the town in a joint meeting. And we divide and conquer.
That's gonna take a process, and
Yeah.
we gotta decide whether we want to spend.
Yeah, no, yeah, we'll vote for this, that's cool,
Well,
but
I'll tell you what, I will make that motion that we fund the requested vehicle for the sheriff's office from the American Rescue Funds. I will make that motion
Second.
tonight.
Motion made and properly seconded. Any further discussion?
Who seconded?
Nathan?
Okay.
Yeah, thing.
I didn't
It's
hear
a
him
car.
say that either.
I called
for
it.
joyrides in it.
As
I
deaf
thought
as
it
I
said
am, I
listen.
called it.
Okay.
I agree with Nathan. I'd like to see us fund necessary services, but so that it doesn't hit us all at one time.
Moving forward.
Moving forward, yes. We've got an opportunity to start something, hopefully to keep it going and make it a part of the budget that the town supports the town with the services that are provided for the town and the county.
And Ms. Ray, you have confirmed that
That
this is a usable,
Both of these are. Because Jeff told me.
That's the reason why you have it on here as such,
Elder,
because you've
we can't
already
do any more projects.
researched.
So I don't know, you know, if we don't spend it somewhere, we're gonna lose.
Well, I mean, we got two good items here, I think.
And the second item's not on here, but when we get to it, after we've completed this, we'll talk about the air compressors. That's not on the agenda, I realize that, but it's on this sheet. So we'll see.
Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye, by roll call vote, excuse me. Miss Allen? Mr. Boyce?
yes.
Ms. Spiegel?
Yes.
Mr. Garrett?
Yes.
Mr. Mr. Simpson,
Yes.
Ms. Puckett. A vote of 6-0, motion passes. All righty. Any other business come forward?
Would it be appropriate to talk about what's on here, which Jonathan just presented to us about the air compressors at this time, or no?
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you talking about in the capacity of ARPA funding?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right, so then let's discuss the request that, for the air compressor and air tank fill stations, which would be covered by the ARPA money that the town received. I would like to make a motion that we pass that we fund that.
How much did we budget for the car?
$52K,
How much was it?
52,000.
Okay.
That's a vehicle plus all of the
Yeah.
accommodations for it as a police vehicle.
So I've made that motion. Is there a second?
Okay,
Is there a second?
okay.
It's a lot of hits, and I guess that's why I brought up the initial comment. Do we really think, and Timmy, I truly trust your opinion here. You've been with the fire department for Lord knows how long. Is this something that would naturally fit to be fully covered by the town, or do you think it should be shared by the county?
In a perfect world, we would have, we got a grant to buy the first one. We
Yeah.
didn't have none. And we was having to go to different counties to fill out our balls at the fire company.
Which is absolutely horrendous.
In a perfect world, I'd say yes, you kind of work together and manage it, but,
Has it?
we hadn't come to realize that perfect scenario.
Has the county committed any of their ARPA money to the fire department?
They bought the air packs.
The air packs,
Basic
okay.
pieces and stuff, yes. And we had two in the previous, thing there, but they were asked to, we trying to do the, training facility that's gonna affect the whole, all the responding agencies, which we feel our bottles for Pampa and Concord, Gladstone, so it's not just us, but anyway, yes, in a perfect world, you would say, yeah, let's do that, but they were asked to come up with an item for some of this money to go to help the fire department, and that's why we in the process of having to replace this piece of equipment. If we could get some help with that, we could take the other money and put it towards the training facility, and that's kind of what we're looking at it from. The county did give us the land to do the facility, and we're trying to get donations and stuff, but
Basically, this is an eligible expense for under ARPA, and it'll allow you to repurpose some other money for other things.
that's why
Okay.
the fire department even brought the item.
And all,
Would it be appropriate to do what they do us sometimes? We pay half if they pay half.
I mean, maybe their ARPA money's already been,
They've already, I don't know.
they
I don't know
haven't,
there
they haven't budgeted?
From the last discussion with the grant person, they're still taking requests. I can't tell you their balance, but they were still taking.
I need a second to the motion, please.
Well, we're still discussing.
We need a second before.
We don't have to have a
should-
second to the motion. I might second it, but I still have questions.
Well, that's
You're
why we
still
just,
discussing it. So
second to the motion, it states that you would like to see it discussed. Not that you want to
She
approve it
voted.
or disapprove it, or approve it or deny it. That's why we have a second, that's Robert's Rules of Order, sir.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
I pull the plug. Because I don't know if I want to approve it.
That's fine. You
So
want it
you could vote
discussed,
down.
you need a
Haven't
second
raised
to
the
the motion.
question.
So I'd entertain a second to the motion. The motion will die, we'll move on.
What was the original motion?
To approve the use of ARPA funds for the purchase of an air compressor and air tank fill station for the fire department.
Do you think there'd be any issue in delaying this purchase by 30 days if we ask the county.
No, but the problem is, they haven't finished paying for the truck they got. That's all. If you really want to know.
So this would be a continuing
They don't want
thing, and we may not ever get them to agree to
Right.
pay half of it, and that, which means the fire department will go lacking with this thing that is very much needed right now. And that's the reason why I made the motion, for us to fund it, since we do have ARPA funds that will cover it.
At some point, we're gonna have to take a stand.
That's the concern, is that if we keep doing it, I know, and it's
I mean,
it's all in the same kind of breath, so.
so, I mean, we've already
my
approved the car, and we didn't bring up that issue.
We
I
did,
did
but
before.
No, not quite at this level.
Again, I don't entertain a second to the motion.
I'll second the motion
Thank you,
just
Jim.
to get the discussion continuing.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any additionals?
What would it hurt to tell the fire department to see if they can get half of it out of? I mean, that's given, we'd be given 50%. That's much more than our percentage, I think should be.
Right.
That would be very generous of us.
As long as you don't think there's an immediate risk in this type of equipment not being able to be procured like that, like there's a supply chain issue or something, I would agree with Claudia. We could wait one meeting cycle just to see. And if we did half of it.
But you also need to realize time is money. What
And the
cost
price-
$80,000 today may be $90,000
The price will go
tomorrow.
up quickly.
Right, and so if it does go up July 1st, I mean, a 30-day cycle. And ideally, I mean, this is still, it's creating the same political environment that shouldn't exist over emergency services. But,
Right.
and truly, the car should be, it all needs to be evaluated the same.
But we just passed the car.
Sure.
We realize that, yes, we should not be funding everything 50-50. I understand that. Our,
We're only 10%
of the population of the county. However, we,
Can't look at it that way.
I mean,
Yeah,
and I can see the
yeah.
flip side of that, where probably the majority of the call volume's in the town limits.
and realize that this piece of equipment is not only going to be used by Appomattox Volunteer Fire Department, but by Pamplin, Toga. Does Toga even have a fire department?
Let's look at it this way. Do we have anything else viable that we want to spend ARPA on at this time? We have a surplus.
She just said.
I'll have a big item to bring up when it gets to the manager's time.
But this is not depleting all of the ARPA, you know that, right?
No, but I mean, ARPA isn't like we just got $1.5 million in our back pocket. We can throw it
Nobody
at
thought
stuff,
that,
but
Nathan, nobody thinks
no,
that.
but these are not
That's
one-time
absurd.
things, right? These are, and it's not like we're building sidewalks that might last
50 years.
50 years. We're acquiring equipment in the same way as a car. A car's 5 or 7 years. This thing's 20 years, 15 years, whatever. These are CIP items in my mind.
Agreed.
And as long as there's no extreme pressing issue that this has to be done tonight, I would like us to ask the county for a 50% match and request a meeting with or request the emergency management committee thing. We'll see if that happens.
You know, let me get on my little soapbox here a minute. We just ask one question. How much is one life worth?
Exactly. And that's what the county has
grand scheme of
consistently
things.
done to us.
But I'm not talking about the county. What's the life of one firefighter worth?
more
Does
than we got in.
does the current
what is
equipment
the value
work?
of one life in a burning house that that firefighter can't go into? I say we fund it, then we go to the county and say, look, as a goodwill gesture, how about splitting it? Don't hold up the process.
They
Even
won't
though-
even, that's
even
what
though-
we've always done.
Even though they will say no. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. We've got the availability of the funds. We got the wherewithal to do it. I say, get it done.
I'm there with you, but if we were to do that, we lose any sort of, it's not even leverage or bargaining
Right.
chip, it's just goodwill.
It never will be.
and
It never will be.
It
Shouldn't be.
can.
No, sir.
Not in your wildest dreams.
No.
As long as there's a county government and a town government, there will never be an agreement on a dollar.
I disagree when it comes to specific CIP items, if we were to set a plan. As long as there's no imminent safety risk to firefighters, which it sounds like there's not, the current equipment still seems to work, I think we'd be playing fire drill if it didn't. As long as that's not a risk, then I don't think it needs to be push the button tomorrow order. We can wait 30 days. And we approve it 30 days from now if the county continues to not want to come to the table, and that's on them, shame on them. But maybe they do, and we just saved $40,000 in money that could be used for town residents.
That money will be used for the safety of town residents, Nathan.
I mean, if you want to discuss
you
the
wanna
specifics
reword
of
that?
emergency management and how the responsibilities break down between county and town, I'm willing to
But
have that
don't
conversation.
patronize me with that.
You patronize me. It's
Hey,
fine.
hold on.
You just said that will not be spent on town residents. And that's not true.
Granted, it is a goodwill gesture. I'm hoping these are the things, based on the discussion, that will help bring the town and the county together on as much as we can. It's never going to be 100% in agreement, but this is our effort to extend the olive branch, per se.
Ha ha.
How many times we go down this road? I understand what you want to do, son. I'm with you. And I would like to see us make a stand somewhere and see if we can't make things fair. But I fell off my white horse a while back. I've seen too much. And I understand you being on it.
No,
And it's noble. I'm with you.
there's no white horse. We're not even letting the county come negotiate. We're just doing whatever they ask, whatever's asked of us by the fire department. We're not even asking the fire department to go to the county. So in the county's mind, they don't even know that there's a problem. Of course they do, but they've never been formally asked for this issue.
Well, yeah, they do, son, because they haven't paid for their part of the fire truck.
And that's just them not paying otherwise committed funds, I guess. I don't know the intricacies of county budget, but anyway.
We don't have anything to do with the county budget.
If we could move forward and then still have a meeting, it sounds like you definitely need to have a conversation, even if it's just heard and not reciprocated back. And if you just keep barking at them, I mean, it doesn't hurt to just bark.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like the last time the meeting never happened because they asked for agenda items. So we'll set this as
I think we
the
asked for
agenda
agenda
item.
items as well.
Yeah,
And we
well,
never-
see, we
Yeah.
wanted to talk about water, and
Yeah.
Didn't want to.
we got a bigger problem than this.
Yeah, I mean, this is a bigger problem to me than water.
I don't know
I
about
mean,
that.
well, it's a more immediate thing that we have to figure out.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's a motion and a second. I call for the vote.
Question's been called. All in favor? Ms. Puckett,
Yes.
Mr. Simpson,
Yes.
Mr. Garrett,
Roxanne, let it be known, I abstain.
Ms. Spiegel,
Yes.
Mr. Boyce,
Yes.
Ms. Allen.
Yes.
By a vote of 5-0, one abstaining, motion carries.
Mayor Connor,
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Mayberry is here to address the funding request of the museum, the Civil War Museum. We were unaware that's what she was here for.
Are you here for tourism or the Civil War Museum? We're sorry. We're gonna Yes, we'll go back to the first item, discussion item on funding of community funding requests. Ms. Mayberry, sorry about that. Yeah, I'm like, Dana's here, that's what I heard. I'm
Well, I'm
like,
Dana Mayberry here representing Appomattox Inn and Suites. I've been before you for Appomattox Inn and Suites as well as the Tourism Committee, so I'm sure that's what you thought I may have been here for. But I am actually here supporting the campaign for the American Civil War Museum. And I just wanted to take a few minutes to say how vital I think the museum is in this community. Being the hotel manager for the Appomattox Inn and Suites for 7 years now almost, and the bed and breakfast Longacre for 14 years, I can tell you now that the Civil War Museum as well as the park, they're just such an intricate importance for this community. And, you know, they bring in, and they're such a big part of our business. Which I know brings a lot of money into this area. And they are for history lovers, and they bring people into this community that otherwise may never step foot in Appomattox. They're coming not only from the United States, but I can tell you they're coming from all over the country to visit these sites. And it is very important that we keep them in our community to continue to draw these people, because they're going to come in and they're going to spend the money in our restaurants, our gas stations, our grocery stores, wherever else they may stop along the way. So I just wanted to, step in and at least let you know that and stand in support of this campaign and the importance of that, and ask you all to please consider the funding of this particular campaign. I can't even fathom actually or imagine any one of you not supporting it. But I do want to ask that you will consider the support of that. Thank you.
thank you, Dana.
Thank you.
If we have any
you.
questions,
Tell you
we'll,
one thing.
Go
You have
right
any
ahead.
questions for me first?
if we have any questions, we'll get the town manager to send your request.
Okay, I do want to let you all know that the Americans, I wanted to pass this on to you all. The Board of the Trustees of the museum, they're going to hold a midsummer retreat here July 26th and the 27th. And they're going to have a big reception, and they're going to invite all of you, all of the representatives of the town, to come to this event. So I want to pass that on for
And
y'all
when,
too.
what are the dates on it?
July the 26th and 27th. And you all will be invited to that reception.
At the museum? Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana.
Thanks.
Sorry you had to live through that.
Lost that amount of time, didn't you?
You had good company next to you.
If I may add one thing to that, in the existence of the museum up here, the Board of Trustees has never held a meeting here. This will be the first for that, and it gives us the opportunity to bring all the trustees up here to show them what we've been able to do in this community with this museum. That's it. It's all approved. It's all, they will be here on the 26th and 27th of July.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
Have a good evening.
Can we go with you?
Almost, man. Sorry about that. Council comments, Mr. Garrett.
This must be yours, because mine's over here. I don't want to take yours.
I don't have it at this time.
Ms. Spiegel.
No, I have nothing.
Mr. Simpson.
Just a question for the town manager. Do you know anything about the Smart Scale project on 24 and when we're going to get our trails and trees?
It starts in November. That's when construction actually begins.
Cool. Cool.
I do have one. If I can back up a second, is that all right, Mayor?
Yes.
Status on the depot, what are they finding in the soffit? How much?
Well, the soffits have not looked too bad. The joist, anything that was outside of the drip line is very rotted. Jeff's guys have done a great job of trying to nail board alongside those joists. But they're all those are gonna have to be replaced.
You talking about up in the ceiling, George?
No,
Or the
this is
deck?
the decking.
Okay, I'm talking about just the sign.
They've been through that. I don't think they found anything, really bad about, as far as structural kinds
That's
of stuff.
amazing.
Yeah, not all of it's been removed. It's like pieces of it.
Yeah,
They only
they're
repair
going
it.
through and, we could have had a massive amount spent just doing it, but they're really repairing what's there. That's the scope of this contract. So, the biggest change that I can see is we are gonna have to replace most of the floor joist on the decking.
We pretty much knew that, I think, going forward with that. But that sounds good.
All done?
It's great.
Have it priced.
Mr. Boyce,
No, nothing.
Ms. Puckett,
Nothing.
Ms. Allen.
Nothing.
Cancel standing committee reports. Finance.
Is there anything else that Roxanne that we need to do or Kim to do that you need from us tonight? We both covered everything.
I think I followed everything. I'm good for the budget.
Good, okay.
Got everything.
When will you update our sheet on the budget?
I'll update it when you come back next time, and I have those yellow spots.
And bring your
where it's
packet.
changed again.
Okay,
Is that okay?
that
Yeah,
sounds
That
good.
works well.
Okay, and you can keep picking at it.
Yes, ma'am.
And did you notice we only have 2 more meetings on the budget?
2 more budget
Do
meetings.
you all feel okay with that? We can,
I think we're
Depends on how
moving.
much red we're gonna be in.
we took up quite a bit off.
But, I mean, I think we're looking pretty good, I mean.
Okay,
I do too.
and you all can continue to look over again, using the big packet as your detail, and those cover sheets
I'll do that
as
one
the
thing.
summary. so
Back
you
me
can
up.
see.
When we look at the real estate tax and, I won't
Okay.
say subsidizing it with the food tax, but, we don't know what the future gonna be in the next 6 months to a year as far as the economy.
Okay, and,
And
Yeah.
personally, I'd like to see us lower the real estate tax again. I'm not saying doing away with it, but lower it,
okay.
and then whatever deficit that would be, we could offset it with the food tax, meal tax.
Do y'all have any idea of a range?
Well,
I mean,
but let everybody decipher that to the
Okay.
next meeting.
And
do
come
you
back
wanna
and
bring,
give,
you want me to bring some examples? Is that
You
what you're
could.
saying?
It would
Okay.
tell us
that would
what-
be very helpful.
All right.
Because we lowered it a little bit, but I mean, I'm not saying do away with it, because it's something I think has got to be fluid to go up and down as we need
Okay,
to meet the needs, but I think,
This,
we're getting ready
inflation.
to embark on a time it's gonna hurt us more than COVID did, I think.
okay, well, do you want me to bring the example that'll take us through until the next assessment? Is that okay?
Yeah, that would give us someone to work with.
Okay, because that's,
What do you think, Nathan?
the values will stay that.
Yeah, I mean, there'd be what, 3 fiscal years until, yeah.
Probably 3,
My,
yeah.
my
Three
only
fiscal years.
fear with us doing that is if we go into a real bad economic situation and then meals tax falls off,
Yeah.
we won't have anywhere to go, because this is the one thing that we have that's a gift.
But if we're only relying on that budget
be a
line,
lot.
then we're gonna have to fire everybody except for the town manager and Roxanne, and it'll be, so,
No,
yeah.
that's how it's gonna
I know she's leaving.
You can keep Kim, I'm gone.
I'll be only here a minute now. I'll be here a minute.
I'm gonna hope.
She'll figure it out.
Yeah, that is our revenue leader, I'll say that, so.
See how long it lasts.
People love to eat,
Infrastructure.
and they're not gonna stop.
Got any infrastructure things?
No, we don't, we just updated the depot process money.
That's,
Yeah,
okay.
but
Now, I'll get you a lot more information on that.
and I did make a note, I'll take a look at it just for you all to see that too.
All right. Staff reports. Kim, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Thank you all, are so used to this format. And I'm sure you keep kind of getting used to it. It's
It
not a
works.
big surprise, okay. We're in 8 months, 67, it was really 66.666, but I'd rather say 67% of the budget year.
Scare me. For those 666 numbers.
67% of the budget year. Going on to the first slide of the general fund. we're at 67, our operating revenue is running a little ahead. Of course, you know, this is against budget, we never know, and things in the general fund, if you have campaigns that are coming in and going out, so I would say this report is probably covering the beginning of the business license are coming in. So, and I'll have a little extra thing to tell you about that in a minute. And then expenses are at 63, so we're about right on the expenses in a perfect world, 63%. Looking at the revenue leaders, so you see what's at the top, and y'all just mentioned that one. That's the budgeted amount, and everything going pretty good on the, let's see, on all of the revenues. I do want to mention, I remember Mr. Boyce having this question, bank stock is due in May, so you'll see that come in. That's why it's still a zero right there. It's just not time for it to be collected. I have seen the amount to anticipate because they have to send in the pre-forms, and I think we're going to be just fine and maybe a little over. Okay. Going to the next for the comparison from February of last year to February of this year. I think everything's looking pretty good. You see, real estate is kind of consistent. It's not a lot of variation in real estate for a year. And the business license, I saw that big difference there, so that made me look a little further ahead because this is through February 28th, and it was due on March 1st. So I will tell you by March 15th, I looked into the system a little further, we were ahead of last year. So I think this amount is just a matter of timing. Okay. Maybe we had a few more late pays this year than we had last year. I think we're gonna be fine. Personal property tax, everything is just, I think things are, with our collection, things are just settling to what we can pretty much expect each year. Let's see, sales tax up. Well, I'm not surprised because, again, meals tax up, your sales tax is gonna be up because those run along on the same ticket. Mm-hmm. Okay. Lodging tax, a little behind, but I would think we're coming into a more vibrant season now with the spring. Okay. All right. Water fund. Okay. I'll say what I'm noticing with our rate increase, and I think she was saying that too, that we're going the right direction because if you notice and get a chance to look back on the budget sheet, we're very conservative with our water sales, and we usually do take in more sales than we anticipated. So that's why I think we're at 79%, because the sales are just more than we budget for. But expenses, 73%. The 25,235, I guess, I don't want to say profit, but I guess
Difference. Revenue
that seem to be in the good. That is, I think we have 2 more capital improvement projects. That's what she's saying. That's when the issue of the water fund gets hit, when you got to do some of your projects.
When it goes negative.
Yep, when it's going to go negative, yeah. That's the example, yeah. For sales and expenses, we may float along, but when you put your projects in, when it takes it out.
And that will be pretty soon, you think?
It should be between now and the end of the year, yeah.
Of the fiscal year?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, that's exactly
Yeah.
right, yeah. And remember, we did lose the revenue from the county we used to get. That was about 50,000 a year.
That's right.
We lost that. On the water line maintenance. That used to be an agreement we had. Okay. So going on to the water revenue, I think that's pretty self-explanatory, the sales versus other revenue and interest on the bank accounts and things like that. Sewer fund, we have a few, I think 1 to 2 more projects, but there again, the sewer fund is healthy. Yeah. And so I think the sewer is pretty strong. I'm going to keep on through sewer. Y'all okay? And just go to the cash accounts. This is where, when the comment was made that the general fund would need to help, I just wanted you all to see the checking accounts can hold the water and sewer for a while, but you don't want to continuously deplete that water fund. And that water fund took that big increase from the water tower agreement years ago. The sale of the tower.
Right.
That is what's holding that water checking very well and allowing for us to have some blips in here. But if we ever decide to use that money, we couldn't keep going to the well to make it in the water.
Very funny. No pun intended. Oh, yes, it is.
There you go. It's eating it now, yes.
It's
yes.
eating it down.
Yes.
We found out after we got it, we couldn't use it all at one time.
Yeah. You can.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
We
You can.
had changed.
Always has. I think it was a misunderstanding. It's
Oh,
there.
that's one of them.
Yeah. You can use that money, but
That's what I tried to tell somebody.
yeah. You can
I
use it.
remember
You
that.
can use it.
You preached that.
And actually, other financial matters, I have nothing else tonight. I've given all that. That's all I have. Any questions on that report?
Ma'am.
It's our money. That's
And do you have a,
Mr. McGee, your turn.
let's move along, 'cause it's almost 8
So,
o'clock. I
council
turn
had
into a
requested-
pumpkin at 8 o'clock.
That we would take a look at inviting Centricare to consider walk-in care facility. And, you know, we discussed it here, we talked with legal. We ultimately sent it to the Economic Development Committee. One of the members on the Economic Development Committee has a spouse that's an attorney for Central.
Kenny,
And his immediate comment when we brought this up was, if you're serious about wanting to bring that kind of facility, you need to sponsor a study, a real, have somebody come in, do a formal study and a survey, and that way, not only could you farm it to Central, but you could farm it to, any of the providers that are out there. And that's the thing that distinguishes us from just asking, hey, would you give us a walk-in care facility?
which would probably go nowhere without that study.
Well, yeah, that's what he's saying. He said, nobody's gonna pay any attention to you unless you have a formal, because they're not responding to just, oh, y'all saying you need it. They're big, these large companies that are doing those kind of facilities, if you don't give them, basically a reasonable idea that there is a high demand and it's sustainable, then you probably don't have a good chance of getting that to do it. So, depending on what council wants, I'm glad to go farm that out, find out who can do that kind of a study and find out how much it would cost, if that's the council's will.
Well, I know for a fact that there's a lot of need for our senior citizens to be able to go within 2 or 3 miles to or
Down to 10 miles.
10 miles at the most from any part of this county to the town to see a doctor. And a lot of them can drive in Appomattox, but they cannot drive to Lynchburg.
Right.
And they're being, I don't know what the word you want to use, but they're not being represented well with the facilities we have here now, in my opinion. They have almost transitioned to not exist as far as I'm concerned, as far as their level of service to our senior citizens. Even everybody, really. You can't go up there and get a walk-in appointment.
Not
don't have-
anymore, and they're booked up out several months.
They don't have a
Central
doctor
Virginia Family
on
Physicians and Blue
premises.
Ridge are the only things. They're booked way out. You might have to wait 6-8 months for an appointment, and you're sick today.
So
The new
what
clinic's
kind of-
not open
What kind of
every
study
day.
we talking
That's-
about, how much?
If you want me to go that route, I will find somebody who can do it and tell you how much it would cost.
That seems
But
like
that's
a good
really the
idea.
question.
Please
Because
do.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
We're not complaining or griping about those two facilities by any means.
Right.
We're just saying we need something better and different to help people who have immediate care, and they have no way to get to Lynchburg or Farmville even.
Right.
And
But they don't take walk-ins.
Timmy might have said this tongue in cheek, but I'm maybe serious about it.
I'm
Is ask the county if they would, once we find a cost, ask them if they would split the cost of that study, because ask the county EDA probably would be the request, and we
Well,
fund
could-
it through ours.
You could ask them to get involved with it at this point, because they have the whole
Yeah.
county too. We have a town, but
Yeah.
it's
Even
16,
more,
17,000
bigger
in the county.
population.
We don't
Yeah.
gain any additional revenues from a doctor's office.
No.
No.
No, nothing.
That's
It's,
the easy.
other-
just want-
we're doing this to serve the
We
community.
want this service for our citizens.
For the town.
This may be a
Can't
place
keep
to
them out of
start.
town from getting a
That's
doctor, you know.
Excellent.
Maybe a
Excellent
place to
idea.
start.
Yes.
Bring that to their suggestion, they bring that up for discussion
How
for the
do we-
county EDA.
Incorporate that with the, whatever group.
I will get on.
Thank you, sir.
Versa, our insurance folks have completed all the actions that are related to notifying the individuals that were impacted by the email breach. They've sent all the letters to VITA, and they've also, as of today, have sent the information to the state attorney general. That more than likely, we will not hear anything from the attorney general's office. And if you have if anybody comes to questions, direct them to me. You know, I can probably give them information about the kind of things we've done, and they've given me information to provide to anyone who has questions about it. Jeff, he is working on a policy about, we do have a few entities in town that they're basically allowing their rainwater to drain into our water sewage treatment system. You know, we're treating water that shouldn't normally have to be treated. So he's putting together a policy, and they'll have something for you in May time frame, because we were trying to not do it like just this one entity, because, you know, whatever we do, we ought to do the same thing for everybody. If there's a higher charge for doing that, if there's a time limit, we ought to have a policy on it.
Is this
Should already have them.
residents as well as businesses, or
We don't have
just,
any residents that.
that it's businesses?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
In this case, it's nonprofit.
Okay,
So we don't currently have a policy back, I know when Dick Bass was here, that was many moons ago, but when he was here, they went around and pulled all the gutters from the town sewer. And I thought they created a policy then, you couldn't be connected. Roxanne, you know,
No, you can be.
can you shed any light on that?
Yeah, they've done multiple smoke tests and they know who is and they've requested that they disconnect, but I don't think there's anything mandatorily.
They didn't
placed.
create a policy?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
so that's what Jeff's working on, so
Right.
we really need to do that.
Right.
There's also some business offenders, if I'm not mistaken, and I think we set extreme non-compliance policies for for-profit entities who are blatantly disregarding a policy. So if a per-day penalty would be appropriate,
Until
I
it's
think.
stopped.
Yeah.
And we just want to be sure we have a policy
Yeah.
and not just
Yes,
something we came up with.
right.
Because it does go back into a tax issue, it will have to be approved by legal.
It's making our water, sewer rates.
Right, and if you think of all your I&I studies,
Yep.
you know, this is exactly the same kind of thing about trying to only treat the water that needs to be treated. Okay, with respect to the garment factory and conducting the brownfield study, I spoke with Freddie Lawson on Monday. He is talking with our economic development group. They had offered to give him some more information, so that's where that is right now.
Cool.
He is talking with our economic development group. That's as much information as I have.
We shall see. We shall see, moving forward.
We will be rebidding the generator bids. We're gonna get a couple more bidders next time around. Sheriff Simpson called and confirmed that they are moving forward with the 2 dogs. Everybody's excited about that.
And I think he said they already have the 2 deputies
Yes,
who
ma'am.
volunteered
That's
to
correct.
be their dog handlers, and they're excited too.
We have signed a new website contract. So we will begin, we have our first kickoff meeting on that next week with Civic Plus. Train depot, obviously the heat pump have been removed, and so we've got electric heat set up for them in there. We don't think that they will need air conditioning before we get the decking put up and the heat pumps, put back up.
They're moving right along, aren't they?
Yes, ma'am. Things, once they get the, once they start with the roof, things should go pretty fast, but that's going to be probably the most difficult part. It'll probably take them 60 days to get the roof, because pulling it off, trying to work out parking, and, we have to provide them a place to put the slate coming off and a place coming on. So that's going to take some working through, but we'll get that done. There will be a change order to replace the joists, floor joists and decking. So, I don't think that'd be incredibly. It won't be in the millions, but that's coming.
Some expensive wood.
Don't laugh.
Okay. So
It's expensive.
Tired, can you tell?
We got all goofy now.
Yeah.
And then, as far as, we haven't looked at anything as far as the town hall improvements in a while. And so what I sent out in my update was a couple of, really two kinds of proposals. Some audio-visual improvements for in this room, in the conference room, and down in Jeff's conference room, and possibly that little conference room that we have over in the train depot. That's a nice little room, but it's pretty much just a table and chairs right now. So, those are something I'm asking y'all to think about. Reverend Duck and I have discussed, the kinds of stuff for this room, because, you can't really see that screen over there from over here. Roxanne can't see it. So I had somebody come in, and they are putting together some proposals for, what AV improvements for in here and in that room.
Did you discuss, just kind of rough to the closest 10,000, I guess, with Lee Hartman, what sort of level of effort, all of it combined with? Is this like a under $100,000 thing? Is it under
Yeah, that's going
50?
to be under 100,000
Okay.
for Lee Hartman.
Okay.
Now, let's talk a little bit about town hall utilization and renovation. What I'd ask, I started trying to come up with what all needs to be done in this building. I talked to Bill Jamerson, he built this building. I talked to Dominion 7, and they've done a lot of the designs and stuff on this building. And when I started getting into it, went back and talked to Bill Jamerson. He said, you really need to get somebody like an architect engineering firm, take a look at this building and see what should be done, what could be done, and that would come in the form of an architect engineering study. So I talked to Dominion 7, and they have put together a scope of work for looking at this building to see what could, not just to this floor, but what should be done to, what could be done to the bottom floor. My biggest concern right now is the stairs. Every day, at least one employee from here has to go up and down those stairs. And I would like anybody who would follow me to go up and down those stairs just once. And, you'll get a whole new appreciation for what has to be done in this building. So, I'm just putting that out there for you. That's what I would like to do. And all that study would do would tell us the kinds of things that should be looked at. I can tell you that when it's windy here, the blinds move.
Not good.
What's
Stand
that?
on your heels, Bill.
It's probably from
No,
the train.
I didn't
It's the train's
tell-
fault. She shakes everything, even us.
You should be in my office. Every time I hear of a train derailment now, I'm like,
It's move along.
Okay.
One of the
Rod-
issues you brought up here was the backup hard drives having to go downstairs. Is that part of your IT review too, to where we
Right.
don't have to have physical?
Right, to
Have some
look
other
at,
offsite.
where could we, if we doing a little bit of reworking up here, could we move that back up here where it used to be? But, none of the employees here have even a break room. I mean, we're in a hallway and a closet. So those are some reasonable things that, I'm asking you to consider. But, it would come at a cost of $23,500 for that architectural stay.
Well, I would say, we don't have anywhere to grow out right here. We got to go down or up. And we've got the dam already there. I think it would be wise use of our money to take a look at what our needs are gonna be in the next
Thanks.
20 years. And pull this building up into the 21st century. What is it? 21st?
Yeah.
21st century. And be sure that we, let's get ahead of things instead of
Yep.
always trying to play catch up. On everything we do,
Yes.
we play catch up. And let's get ahead of it. I think that's an awesome idea, Terry.
So we have a bit of an opportunity in my mind. And you got to follow me. I'm not joking. I'm as serious as a heart attack about this. The old gallery building on the end of Main Street, it's still bank owned, to my knowledge. There's been offers that haven't gone through, and the bank seems motivated to sell it. That right there is 15,000 square feet of usable space. It would need work, but I don't see a private business buying it anytime soon for commercial space, and I certainly don't see it being converted into loft apartments just because of the way the building lays. So what does that leave?
Parking.
Parking.
What would you suggest
can
the
tear
town
down-
would do with it?
So you can tear down the back half of the building, which is falling apart anyway, and you would clear up space for 15 or 20 parking spots, in addition to if you would negotiate the purchase of the side lot. But I don't see,
No.
it could happen. I just don't see
could
private
happen.
industry, I don't
Oh,
see
Mr.
private
Swinsky
industry
passes
buying it or
away.
taking it over anytime soon. And if we need more space, we could kill two birds with one stone and beautify downtown, have more space than we could ever use from municipal capacity, which would allow us to host other things, whether it be a maker space that there are grants for, or other business innovation, entrepreneurship, blah, 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 whatever, the sky's the limit. But it would be clearing up a lot of square footage that are currently unused on Main Street. So if we do need if we want to make a change, this could be it, as opposed to continuing to put money into this building that has nowhere to grow.
Terry, any more?
No, sir, that's all I have, I'm sorry.
Does anybody else have any other business come before the council at this time?
I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
And Roxanne, I might need your help on this. As far as changing, I've made all the changes to the water and sewer rates that you voted on, so I have no change as of July 1. Roxanne, do we have to decide that during our budget process to get all that straight too before July 1?
So if you want a rate increase reflected in the fiscal year 24 budget, for the entire year, yes.
Okay. Just wanted to kind of put that on the mind, give you more to be on your mind.
We will have to have a public hearing.
Yes.
A rate increase,
Well,
moving forward.
With the sewer fund being tied to the water rate, I think would be incumbent on us to be careful. If we do raise the water, we might want to look at dropping the sewer. Just because we see the sewer rate growing, which is great. But I don't want that rate to keep growing at the same time we're bumping the water up, bumping the water up, bumping the water up. Because then you start getting 3% of 3%. Next thing you know, you got all of my 50%, and I'm out there wondering what I'm gonna do.
So you're saying an offset for whatever we take?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and as long as it doesn't negatively affect the sewer.
Okay.
if we have to raise the water rate, I believe we got the wiggle room to drop the sewer rate.
What they've done in the plan is for FY '24 and '25, with the water rate going up 3%, the sewer rate goes up 0. As a part, additional on top of the sewer rate.
Well, in this study, yeah.
Though the amount would be increased, and then they do 3% jumps in years 26 and 29.
Whoops.
Well, I can get her to plug that scenario in and send it back.
She did. I mean, that's in this.
So I'm saying that.
As long as it's not a spitball, it'll be okay.
So,
Yeah, I think it takes somebody's eye out.
If you wanna see that plug through her numbers again, I can
Yeah,
ask her about that.
that might
where
be-
If you bring up
that's-
the water and you bring down the sewer tad, and then, I guess later do a 3%, like she has on there, but the sewer would have been down.
I mean, sewer's gonna, I see what Jim's saying is sewer rate, the amount of money gained by the sewer fund is gonna be 3% increase
At the end
because
of
of
the- anyway.
1.5 times the water rate, or is it 1.5 times water rate,
Not right off, I don't know.
or 3 times?
So
Anyway.
we have
We got a
to
few
look at some
uncertainties there,
figures
too.
I can get
from
her
her
to run
profits,
those.
and
Yeah.
to
So basically,
help us
what,
figure it out.
right, what would happen, the customer wouldn't see, it just shift the revenue. The customer wouldn't see
Exactly.
the change.
Right.
They would just,
Water rate we got,
yeah,
it's gonna change.
I guess it would go up on our
It's just the
books
sewer
where the
capital
water
expense.
would get more and the sewer would
get
drop a
less,
little bit. Yeah, it would just move it in our books, so the customer
Right.
wouldn't feel that increase.
I see what you're doing.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we do, as Jim is saying, we're raising the 3%, reduce the sewer rate to accommodate that? Is that, are we
No.
gain our necessary funding to
I
operate
think we have
sewer
a
on
big
that?
risk with capital improvements because our sewer, while I agree the averages of capacity are in that 200 or under 250,000 gallons a day, I think we're starting to get in situations where we have peak usage that is maybe in the next 2 or 3 years, maybe 5 years on normal growth, we're going to be very close to our capacity. And one major employer or a new Walmart or something like that could affect our ability to provide sewer service without investing in a very large addition to our sewer plant, which is going to cost us money. So I don't, we're really high, and there's a reason for that. I don't know what it is. We need to get to the bottom of why our sewer rates are so high relative.
Well,
Right, but
So, not to cut you off
Yeah, sure,
or interrupt
sure.
you, but the town is still bound in some way, shape, or form to the rate structure that's been created in the sewer fund because of the revenue bond that's associated with the USDA project. It's not a general obligation bond whereby that if for some reason you can't meet your payments on the sewer loan that we have for the closing of the trickling filter over to the SBR, if you can't make those payments, you can't take general fund money and make the payment. It is a revenue bond that was issued to the town. So your rates have to support the low interest loan that the town was
Well,
provided.
that's what I'm saying. We
Yeah.
don't have to lose money,
No, right,
but we can certainly keep from gaining
sure. But, yes.
hand over fist.
To- And I think that's probably why she only has an increase every 3 years in the sewer as opposed to water every
Slow
year.
it down.
To slow down exactly what you're talking about. But I'm not sure that we could lower it just because of the low interest loan we have, because it is tied to a revenue bond. It's the
How much
first
longer we got to pay on that?
40 years.
40 years.
holy cow.
Well, and,
I don't
what you have to
believe
look
so.
at that, though,
Okay.
is the low interest rate that you get in the grant is less tax that you had to do the improvements.
Correct.
Was it 1.125?
Yeah.
Something like that.
1.125
Yeah,
is our
that's
rate.
free money. I mean,
Yeah.
they're paying us to take that money essentially.
But we're obligated to,
We had to demonstrate, we had to
Yeah.
raise the rates kind of where they are now in order to demonstrate that we could repay the loan.
And earmark the 12 payments you keep saying. 125 has been restricted.
So-
we had
Right.
to earmark that too.
We literally cannot lower the.
I don't believe you
rate.
can lower them,
Okay.
Slow it down.
but we can slow it down. at this point. But we can definitely research that, because this is the first time that I have ever known the town to have a revenue bond as opposed to a general obligation bond. So we definitely need to research that just a little bit.
Okay, that would be helpful.
So we'll answer all questions, see what's possible.
Yes,
And what,
yeah. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Kim, but the Church Street Waterline project, that loan,
General.
obligation
doing any more
bond, it won't be
general.
tied to the, won't be tied to a
We don't
revenue.
want another revenue. General means if you fall short, take it from anywhere you want to take it from. It's just not as restricted. But
Yeah,
a
that's
revenue
sewer.
bond has to be within that for
It has to be paid,
in
and it
substance
has to come from the,
and no help
Who-
from another fund ever.
If that fund, so if sewer revenue ever drops, is that bond secured by the full faith and credit of the town of Appomattox, or did we pay for a insurance, like, bond? Like, there's an insurer, like Genworth is gonna pay out that bond back to the USDA?
We need to research.
Yeah, that's.
Seriously,
Okay.
this is the first one I've ever
Yeah.
involved with.
Sorry, Tim, I tried to get it to you earlier.
And I think that's what Kim is saying too, by having that, those number of payments basically in escrow.
Yeah.
In case there is a situation that.
And that was required by that revenue bond, that in addition
I
to
see.
being self-sustaining in the fund, you have to have 12 months also restricted. Yeah.
That's at 160,000 or whatever till 2060,
It's
150,000,
155,
okay.
I think. Yeah. Restricted for 40.
which makes sense, but.
It's crazy.
Wow.
Hopefully that's in the fund gaining interest for
It
40
is,
years,
it is.
but.
Okay.
Yeehaw.
All right, Tim.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. What's wrong?
You hungry too, huh?
Motion made,
We already
properly
are
second
catching
for the
closes
adjournment.
soon.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. We're adjourned. Thank you.
From the bottom of the column,
Oh,
I've been doing it every day
Lordy.
and for.
I was estimating 7:30. I didn't read that
I appreciate
agenda
it.
right.
Found out
Yeah.
on Sunday. I am paying, and I'm hoping